stop until the last drug lord, the last financier, and the last pusher have surrendered or put behind bars. Either you kill me or I will kill you, idiots. Huwag ninyo akong bulahin dito. You destroy my country, I'll kill you. And it's a legitimate thing. I cannot be God and control everything. I have a duty to preserve the generation. Told to me now the legal basis for my being here. As apparently I was brought here not of my own volition.
I'm speaking as a Filipino who lived through that time. Hindi ako nandito para makipag-away. I'm not here to argue politics. I'm not here to convince you to change your beliefs. I'm here to talk about what we experienced, okay? As Filipinos, we don't all think the same, right? May kanya-kanya tayong paniniwala. And I think that's normal. We may not agree on everything, but this is the world we live in. People believe what they personally lived through, not just what they read online or hear from headlines, right? So let me be clear here. This is not a propaganda. This is not a blind loyalty. And of course, this is not emotion. This is perspective, context, and this is lived reality. So kung ibang experience mo, I totally respect that. If your experience was different, that's valid. But my experience and the experience of many others was actually feeling safer during that time. And that matters. So if you're looking for an argument, this isn't for you. If you're here for insults, you won't get them here. But if you're willing to at least listen to why many ordinary Filipinos felt safer, then come on, let's have a conversation. Because today, we are talking about Duterte's letter to the ICC and why the global conversation often ignores the voices of the people who are actually there. Welcome back to my channel.
Mr. President!
Hardline anti-crime Mayor Rodrigo Duterte is poised to become the next president of the Philippines after polls gave him a commanding lead. With nearly 95% of the ballots counted as of Tuesday morning, the tough-talking mayor of Davao had nearly 40% of the vote, putting him ahead of his closest challenger. His main rivals, former Interior Secretary Manuel Rojas and Senator Grace Poe, have conceded defeat. Mr. Duterte was viewed as a wildcard candidate who would at best bring some colour into the poll. But his pledge to kill criminals and to end crime and corruption had nationwide appeal.
Either you kill me or I will kill you, idiots. Huwag ninyo akong bulahin dito.
He credited his success to his record of eradicating crime in Davao, which is notorious for its lawlessness. The 71-year-old stirred controversy during campaigning with some sexist remarks and by making light of a gang rape. But with every soundbite, Mr. Duterte's ratings jumped. Critics have raised concerns about Mr. Duterte's little experience of foreign policy.
Rodrigo Duterte assumed the presidency in 2016 not as a product of political inheritance. So for decades, Philippine leadership had been dominated by familiar names, most notably the rivalry between the Aquino family and the Marcos family, okay? So it's a different administrations, but similar power structures. And along that cycle came persistent allegations of what? Corruption, weak enforcement, and institution that many citizens no longer trusted. By the time Duterte entered the race, public patience had worn thin. So before Duterte took the office, daily life carried visible anxieties. Illegal narcotics were no longer isolated problems. They had reached neighborhoods, schools, and transport hubs. And at international airports, travelers feared the Laglag Bala scheme, where passengers could suddenly face criminal accusations without clear case. Now, the security threats from extremist groups such as Abu Sayyaf remained unresolved. Major violent incidents left lasting scars. Public confidence was further shaken by controversies surrounding disaster response after Typhoon Yolanda, and as well as the PDAF or Pork Barrel Fund misuse scandal. Now, these were not abstract policy failures, okay? They were experiences people associated with everyday vulnerability. Now, Duterte did not campaign as what? A polished national figure? Because his background was local governance, dealing directly with crime, enforcement, and public order. But for many voters, the practical experience carried more weight than the refined rhetoric.
We will not stop until the last drug lord, the last financier, and the last pusher have surrendered or put behind bars or below the ground if they so wish.
Albuera Leyte Mayor Rolando Espinosa Sr. promptly surrendered, while his son Kerwin was caught after months in hiding. In November 2016, Mayor Espinosa was killed inside his detention cell. Others killed included Maguindanao Mayor Samsudin Dimaukum and suspected Iloilo drug lord Melvin Odicta and his wife. Mr. Duterte's staunchest critic, Senator Laila de Lima, was also arrested, along with her former bodyguard Ronnie Dayan, both accused of running the bilibid illegal drug trade. According to statistics from the PNP, more than 1.3 million drug users and pushers have surrendered. More than 80,000 were arrested. More than 3,000 drug suspects were killed during drug operations. 9 drug laboratories and 150 drug dens were dismantled, including Shabu laboratories in Tarlac and Pampanga. Authorities say the effect of the war on drugs could already be felt in the streets and barangays.
His appeal was not ideological, it was corrective. So from the beginning, he emphasized one objective above all: restoring a sense of safety. And this included an aggressive crackdown of illegal drugs, the dismantling of airport extortion practices, the empowerment of law enforcement to act decisively. The methods sparked controversy because it's new to them. The intentions, however, was consistent: reduce fear in public space. There is also a specific moment many Filipinos still remember. So 2 days after Typhoon Yolanda made a landfall, Duterte arrived in Tacloban.
There is no Tacloban City right now. Wala sa langit. I really do not know. The president has been there. Maroas was there. I would suggest that, any suggestion lang, a state of calamity is not enough. There has to be a state of emergency because there is no local government functioning. Yung inaasahan nila na police, army, pati mga social workers, taga-gobyerno, lahat sila biktima, lahat sila may patay. Pati police, pati army doon patay. So there is no city government functioning. Hindi naman ako nag-ano, pero as a Filipino, I have to say something. Ang mga patay na sa dalan. As I said, I do not mean to be, God must have been somewhere else, or he forgot that there is a planet called Earth. Hindi ko malaman kung iiyak ako. I cannot shout in anger because you cannot be mad at anybody there. Maraming mga taga Davao na nagbibigay ng pangalan to check. Walang barangay doon, walang gumagalaw. Ang mga tao parang zumbis naglalakad sa daan humingi ng pagkain. Anak ka na. Sabi ko itong buhay na to. Pulis na nga to, uniforme, patay. But pasabot, ang tanang tao nga to, di makabuhat sa ilang trabaho, kay biktima silang tanan. Gusto nga, you have to, Capitol, you have to help. Wa sila kibaw eh. Sila mismong silingan, wa sila nangamatay ng Pilipino, atuan ninyo. Kasi pagkaon na lang. Alam mo na awa ako sa kanila, even if they wanted to retreat and seek shelter, take off sa helicopter, ang Tacloban is a plateau. Patag kayo ang bukid. It's about mga 50 kilometers mudagan sila. Wa sila kadaganan. Anak plat yun ba? So wala gid sila yung mga tuan. Ang katong akong gipada tong the other night, you were arrived Tacloban just this afternoon because they had to negotiate their way and may na sila nagdaman sila dan. Ang atong 911 kompleto na cutter. So gikat nila hinay-hinay nakaabot sila. I think we are the first, but I'm not saying that we are the only one who's helping. Katotong tuang to is only good for about 3 to 4 days. Mubag down to. Mubag down to tungkol sa pagkaon, ang ilang kasilyas, asas po sila, human beings. They have the needs. Walay klarong pagkaon nga to, walay klarong kasilyas o asa. I expect nga on the 3rd or 4th day mo reklamo na to. So ang akong gusto, ang mga to nga to, I'm not trying to be funny, guys. Kanang mo handle og patay. Handle og patay. Kadaghang nga to apparently, no one is ready to just pick up. God, they are decaying. You must remember Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So tama gitong akong decision. Friday, Saturday, pag tan-on ako sa TV, ingnan tamong, I told the Davaoenos, the city residents, we have to help. Maski na paano, basi ano kalit, we have to help. I want to create channels of emergency channels sa syudad. Nakasakali maganon, may super typhoon, well in advance, advised so many days ahead. And yet, ganon ang, well, of course, nandoon si Mare. Gasmin was there all along, all the time. Sabi niya, Lord, wala talaga kami. And I agree with them. It's the entire city, it's 95% lost. There is no Tacloban city right now.
He traveled by helicopter from Cebu to assess the devastation from the air, and there was no staged media event. Just immediate presence, during the crisis. And that gesture did not solve the disaster, but it communicated urgency and responsibility.
Kung mamatay ka kasi galit ako sa droga, you can hold me responsible for any death that has occurred in the execution of the drug war. Pero huwag ninyo akong bintangan dyan sa patayan na hindi mo alam kung sinong pumatay.
Rodrigo Duterte was heavily criticized by fellow politicians from the very beginning. They mocked his language as a Bisaya, attacked his manners, and questioned his professionalism. And none of it changed his behavior. Why? Because he wasn't trying to impress them. Not at all. He did not speak like a career politician because he wasn't governing for politicians. He spoke the way many ordinary Filipinos speak: direct, blunt, and fed up. Fed up with corruption, fed up with drugs destroying communities, fed up with leaders who talked endlessly and delivered little. He didn't pretend to be refined. He didn't sanitize the words. That was not ignorance. That was alignment. He literally acted like a regular Filipino citizen who had reached his limit, and millions recognized themselves in that attitude. Political elites saw it as crude, ordinaries saw it as the most honest politician ever. Now, what was his relationship with media and why it was hostile? Duterte never tried to become a media-friendly leader, not because he lacked awareness, but because he understood how media influence works. Now, the headlines reduce complexity, sound bites remove context, and the narratives are shaped before facts are finished. Okay? So he refused to perform. He spoke plainly. We all know he talks sometimes harshly and often without polish, and that made him difficult to package. And leaders who can't be neatly packaged are difficult to control. Remember that. So as a result, criticism intensified, but Duterte didn't just adjust his tone to regain approval. He ignored it. Because public approval mattered more to him than elite acceptance. So, why does this context matters? Let's try to understand. It matters because Duterte's rise did not happen in a vacuum. It was a reaction. So, for years, many Filipinos felt trapped in a system run by the same families, same interests, and the same unresolved problems. Now, when Duterte ran for president, he was already considered too old by what? Traditional standards. He actually did not run a flashy campaign, did not rely on celebrity endorsements. He did not come from a powerful political dynasty. Instead, something unusual happened. Ordinary Filipinos campaigned for him voluntarily. People donated time, effort, and voice because they believed he represented a break from the past. They pointed to one place repeatedly as proof. What is it? The Davao City. Okay, so for decades, Davao had a reputation for discipline, order, and public safety. Okay. It's clean streets, low crime rates, consistent enforcement. People didn't need campaign speeches to see the results. They saw and witnessed them. And they asked a simple question. If he can do this in Davao, why not the whole country, right? And that belief carried him forward. This is the top reason why millions elected him. Duterte was not elected because he was perfect. He was elected because he felt real, okay? He did not promise comfort, he promised order. He did not promise approval, he promised action. For a population exhausted by corruption, drugs, and insecurity, that message resonated. This does not mean everyone agrees with his method, okay? It means people voted based on their lived experience and not theoretical ideas. And understanding that reality is super essential.
President Rodrigo Duterte on Wednesday says he himself inserted some provisions into the draft agreement with Kuwait on safeguarding OFWs. Duterte wants the Kuwaiti government to ensure that overseas Filipino workers get 7 hours of sleep, are well fed, enjoy holidays, and won't have their passports confiscated by their employers. He earlier banned the deployment of OFWs to Kuwait, pending an agreement between the Philippines and Kuwait that will ensure protection for Filipinos working there. Duterte is considering imposing a similar ban covering other Middle Eastern countries. He says Filipino migrants must not be abused.
Okay, so let's move to the OFWs and the international advocacy. Everyone knows, okay, that OFWs are the backbone of the Philippine economy. Duterte understood that clearly. Under his administration, the government took a more assertive stance when Filipinos abroad were abused, detained, or facing capital punishment. Documented cases include Mary Jane Veloso, whose execution was halted after sustained government to government negotiations. While in the Middle East, Duterte's administration frequently sent envoys, lawyers, and labor officials to assist Filipinos on death row or facing severe penalties. Did every case end in success? No, but the approach changed. Diplomatic pressure increased, rapid response teams were activated, repatriation during crisis was accelerated. He spoke directly to foreign governments. He didn't soften his tone to sound polite. He didn't beg. He never begged. And Filipinos noticed it. The OFWs noticed. Respect in international relations isn't about volume. It's about leverage.
Let's talk about the war on drugs now. 3,500 people have been killed so far. It seems like the whole world is talking about it at the moment. The Philippines seems to have so many problems. So why launch what is a brutal war on drugs?
Because the sheer number of people contaminated will pull my country down. It will destroy the next generation of Filipinos. You know, these lives lost. Some of them were lost during legitimate encounters with the police.
But the fact is, at the moment, we have 3,500 people killed. And you yourself alluded to just then that perhaps some of them weren't legitimate targets.
You know, there is no crime at all when you threaten criminals with death. In my country, at least, there is no law which says I cannot threaten criminals. And that was the favorite, well, of course, the cliche that they used. It became a cliche over time. And when I was president, I said, we have 3 million, according to PDEA, 3 million drug addicts. Not counting mine, because it's still going on. So I said, if we do not interdict this problem, the next generation will be having a serious problem. And I announced that, again, same. You destroy my country, I'll kill you. And it's a legitimate thing. If you destroy our young children, I will kill you. That is a very correct statement. There is nothing wrong in trying to preserve the interest of the next generation. That 3 million addicts, it's not, they are not a residents of one compact area or contiguous place. They're spread all over the country. And by the sheer number, because if you are a user, you must push, unless you are the son of a billionaire, or because you have to sustain your addiction by getting another financer for you. And then the next financer will have to get a new victim to finance it. That's how it became. That is how drugs is spread. But it was not until I became president